When London burns, ITV goes into action with the real-life firefighters in a new documentary series, Fire, Wednesday at 9 on ITV.
Tonight on ITV, Tales of the Unexpected.
I don't think you should have any more to drink, honey.
Oh, do shut up. I'll drink what I like and say what I like. Eat your pudding.
John Deteen and Susan Penhaligon have a love-hate relationship.
What's the matter? Oh, God.
Bit your tongue?
Can't you believe in such devotion?
She's more obsessed.
A dangerous infatuation.
I love her so much, Tis.
Hit and Run, A Tale of the Unexpected, tonight at 10:10 on ITV.
Rather than confront trouble, the new Audi 100 is specifically designed to help you avoid it. Vorsprung durch Technik, because you've got your whole life in front of you.
Swing into summer and save £50 on the Country Garden hammock, just £99.
Great Mills is big, big, big.
Cast iron and hardwood garden bench, great value at only £24.99.
Great Mills is big, big, big.
Enjoy the great outdoors, the Weekender Party Grill, incredible value at £9.99.
Great Mills is big, big, big.
Save £5 on the Hose Lock Through Flow Hose Box, just £24.99.
Great Mills is big.
Big in value.
I said, she said, I said, she said, I said, she said.
Petits Filous. The deliciously creamy texture and natural fruity taste makes Petits Filous fromage frais
Bye.
simply irresistible. Petits Filous from Yoplait.
Oh, wow. What can I say? Something like this is all about pulling together, you know, teamwork. So I'd like to thank everyone who made it possible, like...
Nurse Jones, Mr. Smith.
And not forgetting the horses for giving so selflessly.
And Miss Cardwell for helping me to stick the
It's amazing what you can achieve when you work together with someone you can trust. That's why at the Principality Building Society, we think the best way to work for you is to work with you. At the Principality, partnership is our principle. Oh, and before we go, we'd just like to thank Kevin for his camera work.
Every 7 seconds, somebody somewhere opens an insurance policy with Eagle Star. Eagle Star covers your world.
On this Bank Holiday Monday, Sue Lawley travels to the Middle East to meet Queen Noor of Jordan, whose country had a pivotal role during the Gulf crisis and war. It's a unique chance to meet the fascinating Queen Noor.
When His Majesty and I moved here 13 years ago and made it our home, he wanted a new name for it, and one that perhaps expressed what we hoped it would become, which is a meeting place and a place to bring together everyone, the family and the country.
Sue Lawley in Jordan. Bank Holiday Monday on ITV.
You're watching HTV West.
The news from ITN.
Back to Earth. Now Britain's first cosmonaut wants another space trip. As Rajiv Gandhi's son collects his ashes, a likely successor's found. South Africa's Zulus brandish weapons of defiance. The youngsters who suffered misery in council-run homes. Good evening. Britain's first cosmonaut, Helen Sharman, is getting used to life back on Earth tonight after completing her 8-day mission in space. Her Soyuz spacecraft touched down in Soviet Central Asia. She told reporters she felt very heavy after a week of weightlessness, but said she'd love to go back one day to do a spacewalk.
Britain's historic space mission reached its final stages early this morning as Helen Sharman bid farewell to her Soviet colleagues who'd accompanied her into space. But the most hazardous part of the journey lay ahead. These pictures show her capsule undocking from the space station Mir. Here we see Soyuz TM-11 travelling through the Earth's atmosphere at 18,000 miles an hour. Last-minute calculations at mission control on the ground as the capsule approached Earth. Its speed was slowed by parachutes and then in the last few seconds before landing by powerful retro-rockets. They landed in Soviet Central Asia, the landing capsule scorched on re-entry. Miss Sharman and the 2 Soviet cosmonauts who returned from Mir with her were taken straight to Moscow, where they'll undergo medical tests in quarantine. Britain's first cosmonaut, returning after 8 days in space, was steady on her feet and exhilarated to be back.
The air is very fresh. I feel very heavy. The smell is wonderful.
Valentina Tereshkova, who like Helen made history, she was the first woman in space, was there to meet her.
What was the first thing that struck you about Earth again? It was the, Victor gave me a small book, one of the books that we were using for emergency situations, and I could hardly lift it up.
For the Russians, it was another small step. But for Miss Sharman and her British backup team, it had been a giant leap. Penny Marshall, ITN, Moscow.
The parachutes opened and everything.
For Helen Sharman's father, the landing was sweet relief.
Great, lovely.
In Sheffield, friends and neighbours helped the Sharman family to celebrate their daughter's return to Earth and her new place in the history books. They were proud and delighted.
I feel elated to think that it's been successful and she landed safely. Sad in a way that she would like to have stayed up longer because she's enjoyed it so much, but I'm pleased it's a safe landing.
Yeah, I think there's a degree of relief that this stage of the mission's over. We knew that there were 3 critical stages: the launch, the docking and the re-entry. And I suppose it's because we weren't there for this particular part of it that it made it more tense.
Later, television news confirmed Helen's safe landing.
British astronaut Helen Sharman comes back to Earth.
Although the experiments Helen performed on Mir won't win any Nobel Prizes, she is the first Briton in space. But some, like the chairman of the House of Commons All-Party Space Committee, aren't convinced about manned spaceflight.
I must admit, looking at it so far, one's had very little real feedback from the Russian cosmonauts, the American astronauts, as to the practical application of manned spaceflight. And so there is a question mark in my mind, and that in no way detracts from a really wonderful personal achievement on her part.
Whatever the arguments, one question remains. It's Helen's 28th birthday on Thursday. What do you buy someone who's just back from space?
Unionist politicians say more troops should be sent to Northern Ireland to counter the growing number of terrorist attacks. In the latest incident, 2 policemen were injured by an IRA bomb at Cookstown in County Tyrone. The Northern Ireland Secretary Peter Brook is preparing again to get all-party peace talks underway.
The IRA bomb was in a van abandoned in the centre of a large Protestant housing estate in Cookstown. It disintegrated in the blast, pieces of its bodywork crashing into houses nearby. 2 police officers were slightly injured and 11 civilians were taken to hospital suffering from shock. Extensive damage was caused to at least 60 homes. The escalating wave of IRA violence prompted the local MP to call for a military clampdown, saying too much reliance was placed on the Brook Initiative.
There is no way that we'll negotiate the IRA away. We'll defeat the IRA. And those in authority, including Mr. Brook, better get it into their skull that the people of Ulster are sick with promises. They want to have action.
The soldier killed in last night's IRA attack on a West Belfast army base was named today as 44-year-old Corporal Terence O'Neill, a dog handler from Morpeth in Northumberland. He was due to leave the army in 6 months' time. This afternoon, Sinn Féin supporters passed by the army base on their way to a demonstration against a permanent order which bans them from marching in Belfast city centre. Police blocked their way and called on them to disperse. The demonstration passed off peacefully. Andrew Simmons, ITN, Belfast.
Rebel forces in Ethiopia say they've captured Addis Ababa's international airport from government troops. Heavy gunfire has also been heard tonight from around the presidential palace. The rebels had earlier given assurances that they wouldn't attack the capital before peace talks, which start in London tomorrow.
With life in Ethiopia disintegrating, the British community have pulled out, knowing that tomorrow's peace talks may only delay bitter fighting between government and rebel troops.
The last week there's been about 5,000 Ethiopian soldiers coming in, and they've just got their weapons and they haven't got any pay, and they're just wandering around the streets. It's quite tense.
Tension, apprehension, uncertainty. I would say those would be the words I would use for what's the situation is at the moment.
It really does seem as though the rebels do have control of most of the country and that they are ready to take over power if that were possible.
Tigrayan rebels have now completely encircled the capital, Addis Ababa, and the other main group fighting the government, the Eritreans, have captured the key Red Sea port of Assab.